Hello, my name is Rob, and I wanted to create this video to help you on your journey of healing. Now, if you've been diagnosed with any type of dystonia, cervical, blepharospasm, whatever, you know how frustrating and debilitating that can be. Yet, there's hope and there's healing in store for you in your future. Now, I jotted down a few notes that I may reference here periodically, so you may see my eyes go, into the background there. It's because I wanted to make sure I remembered the important things that I want to share with you on this video. Now, it's also something I want to really point out here and be clear about is I'm not promoting or selling anything on this. I'm making this to help you on your path to healing and recovery. I've walked in your footsteps, and I want to share some of the habits that I've used and developed and learned through the couple of years in this journey, as well as the resources that I've found that can be really powerful in helping you on your journey of healing and recovery. Now, I will say this. When someone's diagnosed with dystonia, and actually I don't even like that term because that is a medical term that basically implies no cure. However, we'll use that because you can all relate to that term. When someone is diagnosed with the medical term dystonia, which I prefer to replace with my friend's definition, emotional stress overload, it can be a frustrating diagnosis because, again, the world, or the medical world, I should say, offers very little in the way of solutions. Most doctors will tell you it's incurable, and at best, maybe you can manage the symptoms. Botox, DBS, myectomy, whatever. You're just managing symptoms, but they'll tell you in most cases there is no cure. If that's the case, how come I know a good number of people who have healed and recovered completely, including myself? I am pretty far down that path. I wouldn't say I'm 100% there. I'm still, though, on the tail end of this journey, but it's been about 2 years. And I went from a place 2 years ago when an eyelid surgeon gave me the diagnosis of blepharospasm, which I don't use anymore. Emotional stress overload is the new term I use because of my friend Neil. But when I was diagnosed with that, I was at a place where I thought, I'm never going to be able to do the things that I've loved doing in life, skiing, hiking, running. And I thought basically my life's going to change forevermore. I wouldn't even be able to drive anymore. And you can probably relate if you've been diagnosed with any of those things. Well, here I am. I just ran a 15K trail run in Moab yesterday in Utah. Healing is possible. I'm here to tell you it is. You need to be very careful who you listen to, and it's about doing the right things. This is a journey, and we would all love to go from point A to point B. I get it. That's not how this healing journey works, though. It's a matter of discipline, consistency in doing the right things and developing these habits, and it looks more like this. In other words, we're slowly working up in that direction, but there's days where it's not as good. And you have to have patience. Eventually, though, you will become symptom free if you do these things. It may take months or even years because what you're doing is retraining the nervous system. So think about it. How did you get to this point in the first place? You burn out your nervous system. And what you're doing is retraining your nervous system, or in other words, developing a new software, a version 2.0 of yourself. And that is not going to happen overnight. It's about learning to turn off the internal bells and alarms that are going off inside of us. Now, my plea, again, and purpose for doing this video isn't to sell or promote anything that I haven't tried myself or done myself that has been very helpful. So the hope in doing this is to point you in the right direction and share some of the habits that can help you right now on your journey of recovery and healing. And especially if this is new to you, you probably don't really know where to start. And the places you have gone certainly don't give you much hope. Like I mentioned earlier, managing symptoms at best. And here's my big plea. Before you do something permanent, any form of a myectomy or DBS or things like that, please give the things that I'm suggesting in this video a try. Meaning, give them 3, 4, 5, 6 months and actually consistently do them every day and watch for the improvement. And you will start to see improvement. If you've been doing this with 15 years, guess what? All hope is not lost. You can start this journey right now. It doesn't really matter. The point is, these resources are there to help you, and you can become symptom-free and you can heal from this. I've seen it happen, and you're not an exception. So, with that being said, let me share some starting points before I point you to these resources. Number one, watch this entire video and maybe even watch it a second time and take notes. This is basically putting this video hundreds and hundreds of hours of research, of experience, and of learning myself. So you don't need to walk the path of trying to figure all this stuff out and where it lives. I'm going to share with you where to start and point you in the right direction here. Now, there's certainly other things out there, but I will tell you these are some of the best in the world as it relates to dystonia recovering and healing. So watch this, watch it a couple of times, take some notes. This information is invaluable, and it doesn't matter whether it's blepharospasm, focal dystonia, cervical dystonia, it doesn't really matter. The point is, it's all the same, and the way you heal is fixing your nervous system. And so these resources will work for you. Second, you've got to believe there's hope. I'm telling you right now, you can recover from this. It's not easy. It will take consistency. You need to change your belief system right now, though, to believe that's possible. If you don't believe it's possible, it won't be. And so you've got to start to have that belief. And I realize if you've been dealing with this with for years, that's hard to have that belief. You've kind of become accustomed to this. And you'll see if you'll embark on this journey, looking at some of these resources, that it's absolutely possible. But it does need to start with the belief that it can happen. It will take consistency and it will take discipline. You're going to hear me say that multiple times because what you're doing is rewiring your nervous system. Think of the previous version of yourself as version 1.0. What we're developing now in this journey is version 2.0. And I will promise this, version 2.0 will be far better than version 1.0. And it'll be symptom free because what you will have done is changed your way of thinking. Now you'll live life with a regulated nervous system. It's going to take a little while, though, for your unconscious or subconscious mind to believe that you're serious about this. Hence why it takes, for most people, a fair amount of time. But it's awesome. And so you need to give it time. Don't put a timeline on yourself. Don't say, hey, I'm going to do this for 4 months and expect to be healed. It may take a year or 2 years, but what you're going to see is it gets better and better. And the symptom-free days start to show up. And then they become more common. And then pretty soon that's going to become the norm. And you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's right. My friend Neil used an example. If you have a toothache and the toothache is really bothering you, it's all you can think about. Once you go to the dentist and fix that and there's no more pain in your tooth, you don't talk about it anymore. It's an afterthought. You remember it, but you're not thinking about it anymore. And that's what it's like to be symptom free. The difference is it's going to take a while. So you need to be patient and give yourself a little grace in this journey. Number 3, and this one is critical because I've read the chat. I've read the different chat boards, comment boards, Facebook group comments, etc. If you are truly in a financial position where you cannot do some of the things I'm suggesting in this video, then please send an email to healingyourmindandbody@gmail.com. Healingyourmindandbody@gmail.com. There is an anonymous donor who will cover the cost of some of these courses if you're truly in a financial position where you can't do this yourself. Now, I'm not just talking like, hey, I want to be able to afford my coffee and cell phone, all this, and so I'll just have that anonymous donor pay for it. No. If you're truly in a position, you're in South Africa, you're in India, you're on a fixed income, and to do some of these things, you just can't physically do them. That is no longer a barrier to entry. This anonymous donor will cover the cost of some of these resources. And I do not blame anyone for developing a platform and building a living to help other people via coaching. I see some comments of saying, oh, you should do this for free. These are people making a living and they're helping others. And so I totally am on board with them creating a platform and having a paid service to do so. But if you're not in a position to pay for those services, that's no longer a barrier. So again, once again, the email is healingyourmindandbody@gmail.com, and that anonymous donor will cover some of the costs of these programs for you. That's all I need to say about that, although I'll come back to that one here in a little bit. Okay, a couple more bullet points. And this is not a short video, by the way. This is why I said watch it a couple of different times. The time will come with consistent work and effort that you can be symptom-free. I mentioned that before. The path is not from point A to point B. One of the biggest mistakes and temptations that I see, I've seen in my own journey and I've seen other people make the same comment is, we expect to get there right now. Give me a magic pill. There's no magic pill. That's why, most of the things that are out there are the things that simply put a Band-Aid over the symptoms. We're trying to rewire the nervous system here and create a new operating system. That's going to take time. Hence why I've said now a couple of times, notice this, you've got to be patient. There's going to be good days, there'll be bad days on the path to recovery and healing. On the bad days, it's okay. There's another good day coming. And the good days will become more and more frequent as you heal. My plea for you, and I said this earlier, I'm saying it again. Before you do something permanent, such as DBS or myectomy or whatever else it might be, please consider these resources and spend 4, 5, 6 months, whatever, getting into them and notice the improvement. And if you're seeing improvement, it'll continue to improve with consistency, discipline, and effort. Okay, so that's a little background on some of the philosophy of healing. Now, I want to share with you 3 daily habits. When I said consistency, I meant consistency. Every day, you're retraining your nervous system. And, as it gets close to healing, yeah, we can start to taper off on some of these a little bit. We don't have to quite be as disciplined, if you will, in some of these things I'm about to suggest. But in others, these are lifelong habits that we'll have for the rest of our lives. So let me start with 3 habits, and then I'm going to share with you the resources that'll go way more in depth on healing and point you in the right direction because they have the platform, they have the resources. That's not my arena. I'm just going to point you towards them. But here are 3 habits that need to be a part of healing. And number one, let me take a little sip of this. Number one, this is so important. Trust God. Seek His guidance. Seek His help. Start developing the habit, if you haven't already, of daily prayer and watch what happens inside of you. He is the master healer. He will take you on a journey of healing that even goes beyond the body. It'll be a spiritual healing. It'll be a healing of your soul. Maybe think of it this way. A caterpillar was never born and destined to remain a caterpillar. A caterpillar goes through this cocoon metamorphosis, and the cocoon time can be anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 years, depending on the external factors. Kind of an interesting analogy, isn't it? After that cocoon experience, what emerges? A butterfly. That's exactly where we're at. None of us are destined to stay caterpillars the rest of our lives. And maybe think of this diagnosis as your cocoon experience, if you will. And out of this cocoon experience comes the butterfly, the version 2.0 of yourself. And this is actually something to get excited about because this regulated, different state of living in your nervous system will be completely new. It's not how you've lived the majority of your life to this point. It's a whole different way to approach it. And I know this because I've experienced it and I'm still working on that every day myself. I can relate. I know what it's like. And it's a beautiful thing. So my plea for you is as you begin this journey, trust God. And if He's not been a part of your life, give yourself to Him. Watch what He can do. There is nothing to lose by trusting Him and praying Him to daily and then seeking His guidance. It's a critical part of healing. Number 2 is this, movement. You have got to make sure that you move every day. I talked with Dr. Farias, and I'll share his name a couple of times, and you might already be familiar with him. I talked with him, and he made an interesting comment. He said that he's never met anyone who's recovered or healed from any form of dystonia who is sedentary. Let me say that again. He's never met anyone who recovered or healed from any form of dystonia who is sedentary. In other words, movement is a critical part of recovery. You've got to make time for it every day. I'm not talking twice a week, every day. So whether that's yoga, walking, running, qigong, whatever, even if it's hard, get out, do something that involves movement every day. Now, hey, I realize if you're in the thick of it right now and you're at your low point or even at a very difficult point, that can be a really hard thing to do, for blepharospasm. I remember 2 years ago going outside and being in the sun and just hardly being able to even open my eyes. You've got to move. That is a key part of recovery. So find something that you can do, even if it stretches you, even if it's a little uncomfortable. You're not going to die by moving. It might be difficult, but that's okay. It's a key part of recovery. So make time every day for movement. 30, 40 minutes if you can, at least. A good starting point is to walk a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. Do some yoga. Find a way to get movement every day. Critical part of recovery. Third habit. So prayer, movement, and the third habit is this. If you're not already doing it, make some time in the morning to meditate and visualize. The how-tos will be explained in these resources I'm going to point you towards. I'm not going to get into that world. They can do that. What I'm going to share is this. You need to make meditation a key part of your journey because this is part of the rewiring that we just talked about. So what does a typical morning look like? Prayer, a real connection to God, let Him be our guide. Meditation and exercise, movement. That alone will make a huge difference as you embark on this healing journey. Test me on this. Do it for 3 months. Even if you did nothing else, that alone will have an impact on beginning to start the healing journey. Now, for meditation, there's a million resources out there. The Waking Up app is one of them. The Huberman podcast talks about that. The Insight Timer app is the one I use, another great app. There's a ton to choose from. The bottom line is start making time for this every day. These platforms I'm going to point you towards have in and of themselves some great tools that can guide you down that path. So those are the three habits that no matter what you do need to be a part of the journey. Now, let me point you towards the resources. This is taking me 2 years to get to the point where I can point you towards these and really elaborate on what they're all about. Now, a couple of things about these resources. Each of them is valuable in their own way. In other words, everything I'm sharing with you, I've done. And I've worked with each one of these individuals and used their platforms. It's like a puzzle piece. Each one of them bring a different piece to the puzzle, if you will. You could heal without a particular platform, but I've found that you can accelerate that healing by having that piece of the puzzle, in the puzzle, so to speak. So with that being said, these are complementary of each other. And you can do this without one specific individual one, but it's been more complementary to have different viewpoints and approaches, which is why I'm sharing all of them. Now, I'll say probably one of the easiest starting points is Dr. Farias. You've probably heard his name floating around, and I can almost guarantee that if someone will start on his platform, they will see a jump in improvement. The biggest mistake I see for people who use his platform is two things. Number one, they start and there's not really any consistency. If you're not going to be consistent, these things are not going to work. You've got to retrain the nervous system like we talked about. It's taken a lifetime to get to this point. You burn out your nervous system, we need to retrain it. That takes daily discipline and consistency. Now, Dr. Farias has spent a lifetime studying dystonia. He's amazing at what he's putting out there and helping people heal. Having said that, one of the pros and the cons to his platform is it's a huge amount of resources on his website. It's a pro because there's so much there. At the same time, it's a con because there's so much there. And it's sometimes easy to get overwhelmed by the amount that's there. Don't get overwhelmed. Just pick a couple of things and do those each day. So push past the complexity. When you first get on his platform, it's going to take you a week or two to figure it out. And then you're like, oh, okay, I got that. It releases a video every week in this particular area. Great, just do the exercises. It's not rocket science. So don't make it too complicated. For his website, it's dystoniarecoveryprogram.com. Dystoniarecoveryprogram.com. And I can't remember the exact price, but it's around $35 a month. For most people, you can afford that. I'm going to reiterate this, if you're truly in a position where you cannot afford $35 a month, that should not be a barrier. He has a series of coupon codes that have been purchased by this anonymous donor that are good for 6 months. And the reason 6 months is to see if that individual is going to be consistent with his platform. So if you need a coupon code, if you can't afford that $35 a month, email healingyourmindandbody@gmail.com. Healingyourmindandbody@gmail.com. And just state your situation. I'm not able to afford Farias's program, but I really want to do it. And I'm committed to being consistent and disciplined. Great. That person will send you an email with the coupon code. You put that in his website and off you go. And you can use it for 6 months. If at the end of 6 months, you're still using the site, that person will continue to pay for it for you. That donor, that anonymous donor, just doesn't want to commit for a year or two and then have you not use it after 3 months. So anyway, all that to be said, the $35 a month is no longer a barrier. Anybody can use his program who's willing to put in the work and the effort. Dr. Farias's program is amazing. And I'll tell you one thing great about it is you start to see comments of people who have walked in your footsteps and who have healed. Again, it's going to take a long time. This is not something that you go into thinking, oh, a month or two and I'll be good to go. If so, you're setting yourself up for failure. You need to think long-term on this and be patient with yourself. So that's a very simple resource. I would suggest everybody go there because anybody can do it. It's an online program. He gives you the exercises to do every week. Very simple starting point. Now, here's some other ones that a lot of people don't know about. Neil Duran's. He's in the UK. He's developed an online program, or you can visit with him and do one-on-one coaching. He himself has walked the dystonia path, is completely healed and symptom-free. It's amazing. Now, what he's doing is a little more expensive than Dr. Farias, but it's a game changer. So I came across Neil's program just 2 months ago. I'd already been doing Farias for 2 years and some of the other resources for about a year that I'll share with you. And Neil, what he added, his piece of the puzzle was huge. I mean, I've already seen it make an enormous difference just in a couple of months of doing what he suggested. So Neil was a game changer for me. He does have a Facebook group called Dystonia Treatment Program, and his name again is Neil Durans. So at a minimum, you can join his Facebook group, Dystonia Treatment Program, and kind of get a sense of what he's all about. And again, I'll reiterate this. He has an online program. You can simply do it online. He'll send you the YouTube videos when you pay for it, or you can do one-on-one coaching with him. Up to you. And I just want to say this again. I get nothing from Farias. I get nothing from Neil. I've used their platforms. They've helped me enormously. And so again, I'm just sharing these with you to point you in the right direction. So this, in conjunction with the other resources, really is awesome. I've loved Neil and what he's offered. It can, I'd say one of the things that he's done really well is connected the dots between the conscious and the unconscious mind and how those interact with each other. He has some different programs that you can listen to a couple times a day, really powerful in resetting the nervous system. So if someone cannot afford his program, I am aware of this separately, and you can get into his Facebook group and put a comment there. He'll respond. I know that there's another anonymous donor that has paid for 4 scholarships a month in his program. So once again, not having the finances is not a barrier to entry. And I realize there are people all over the world that may be listening to this, in some places that are in some pretty tough financial circumstances. So he does have someone that's paying for 4 scholarships a month, and go join his Facebook group. You can talk with him about that, and he can put you on that waiting list. So Neil Durans, awesome. A third resource is Ruth Giles. She wrote a book called The Focal Dystonia Cure, which you can get on Amazon or anywhere else. It's like $15 or whatever the book is. So for almost anybody, you can do that. Read the book or listen to it. Actually, I don't think it's an audiobook. So just read the book. And that has some awesome insights on things you can do to reset your nervous system. I'm not even going to get into what it's about. If you're serious about your healing, you can get into it and read her book. I've been working with her since February doing one-on-one coaching. So that's been about 9 months at the time of this recording. And she right now is in the process of developing an online course. So I don't know when you watch this, but there will come a time within the next few months when she will also have an online course available. By all means, I would be doing her online course, Dr. Farias's, Neil, because they all are for a different piece of the puzzle that are very complementary of each other. But at a minimum, the Focal Dystonia Cure book, read the book and start implementing her exercises. It's the long game. She's going to point that out. Neil's going to point that out. Dr. Farias are going to point that out. But each one of them offers something unique and really valuable in this journey. So I can guarantee that most people watching this have not tried what she will have you do. And I never even heard of what she does. For me, it was totally new. It was awesome. And again, it was another piece of the puzzle. So that's Ruth Giles, Giles. And look out for her online course. It'll be priced similar to what Dr. Farias is, and it won't replace his by any means. I'm not saying do one or the other. Once she has one, I'd say do both if you can do that, because it's just two different approaches at the healing journey, if you will. Another one is a website called hopefordystonia.com. Now, this is a person named Federico who lived in Canada and now lives in Israel. I've been doing one-on-one coaching with him for about 11 months now, and he himself recovered from cervical dystonia and now coaches other people. I think he may be developing an online platform at some point, but even if he doesn't have the online course, so to speak, he has some great resources on his website. He has some videos and other things that can help you right now on your healing journey. So hopefordystonia.com, you can go to his website right now, read his blog, read some of the videos he's put out, and those alone are awesome. Now, if you're in a financial position to do one-on-one coaching with him, he's excellent. He's amazing. He has a gift for really helping you see things in your life that you just can't see right now. And I can guarantee that because he's done the same for me. He asked me at the beginning when we started, I'm not going to go too far into this, but he's like, Rob, how do you feel? I said, great. And he's like, no, how do you feel? You didn't hear me? Awesome. I couldn't even answer that question. And I thought I was a pretty, developed person as far as emotional quotient and things like that. And that was a world that I hadn't even explored in my life. And anyway, I'm not going to go down the path of what he covers, but the bottom line is he likewise is awesome. A little more expensive for the one-on-one coaching with him, but if you're in a financial position, he's amazing. So the last thing I'll say about the resources, and then before I wrap this up, is be very careful who you listen to. I'm pausing right there because I'm absolutely serious about this. I've learned it from them, and it's 100% true. Be very careful who you listen to and believe, because if you're listening to someone Your unconscious mind has its antennas up. It's going to hear what other people are saying. And if there's someone that you are putting yourself around or believing, and they're saying that recovery is not possible, well, look at that. I mean, how are you going to recover if you don't even think it's possible? It's not going to happen. Versus, look at the people I've just talked about: Farias, Federico, Ruth Giles, Neil. Every one of them had previously been diagnosed with dystonia and now are 100% symptom free. Multiple people on every one of their platforms, same thing. So associate with people that have healed, not people that are on year 15 of this and are still dealing with it and have made no progress, and they are contemplating DBS and they've taken 20 different medications and nothing has changed. No offense to that individual, but that's not who you want to get your information from. Find the people who have healed and listen to them. Walk the journey that they walked. Be very careful who you listen to, including your doctor. Now, let me give you an example from personal experience on this. I asked my eyelid surgeon, the one that gave me a diagnosis of blepharospasm 2 years ago, which, cancel that term, I don't like to use that anymore, the emotional stress overload, because I'm healing from that. And words absolutely matter. Anyway, he's the one that gave me that diagnosis 2 years ago. I took Botox for about a year, haven't had it now for coming up on 5 months, and don't plan to ever use it again. Um, anyway, something really interesting. I asked him, I said, so now, first of all, I got to go all the way back. At the beginning of that diagnosis, it was awful. Like you, I'm scouring the internet. There's no hope. Everything about it was awful. I thought, hey, in the beginning, I'll just take an eye drop and it's good to go. Of course, that's not the case. So when I asked him, how many people do you know that have healed from this, of your patients? His response was, none, none of them. And I told him, I said, okay, well, I'm going to be your first. And of course, he's like, yeah, right. Well, over the course of quite a while, probably about 8 months ago, so my second to last visit with him, I said, how you doing? How's life going? And we talked for a while, and he looked at me and he said, I've got to admit, I'm pretty impressed. You look really good. And I asked him, and this was telling. This is why I'm sharing the story with you. I asked him, or first of all, he said, I've got to admit, you look really good. So whatever you're doing, keep it up. It's obviously helping. It's working. And I asked him, I said, well, would you like me to share with you what I'm doing so that you could share it with other patients, knowing that healing is possible? And this is his response. He said, I don't think that would be the best use of our time. What? I about blew a gasket and went right through the roof. Not the best use of our time. So you want to just keep giving people Botox with no hope of ever healing? You're a doctor. What happened to the oath? And so my point is, you can tell I'm getting fired up about this. Be very careful who you would listen to. These very doctors, many of them, would say that healing is not possible. Now, there is a small segment out there. I'm flying out to Duke University later this week to actually do a training for a group of neurologists and a team that is focused solely on dystonia. And then they're going to take me and give me a tour of the campus and some of the research things we're working on later in the day. I will already say, because I've had a Zoom call with two of them, that they believe you can heal from this. And so that's exciting to have two of the leading neurologists in the world that also have PhDs in neuroscience that actually believe healing is possible. They're the exception, not the norm. Most doctors will not help you in the journey of healing. They're just putting on band-aids. And it's not to slight them. They do what they do. But the point is, you got to be very careful who you listen to and believe. What is my recommendation? Associate with the people who have healed. And I have all the respect for these Facebook groups, but I had to pull away from them, which is ironic because I'm going to post this video in those same Facebook groups. But I had to pull away from them because of this almost like a self-fulfilling firing wall. And I was looking at some of the advice coming in there. I was like, oh man, this isn't advice. You just got to be careful who you're listening to. So I think I've mentioned that one enough. With that being said, I don't think there's much more to talk about on that. Just associate with people who have healed. Associate with people who are on the healing journey, and they're the ones that will give you hope, not the ones that are still battling after 10, 15 years and doing the same things with no hope or healing in progress. It's amazing. In some of these groups, there's people who are not willing to try anything that I've shared on this video. And they simply repeat the line of some of the doctors that, nope, healing's not possible, and therefore it's either Botox or whatever the rest of your life, and that's the end. Have you tried any of these things? No. There you go, once again. So that particular bullet that I just shared kind of gets me fired up a little bit. All right, this video has been long enough. I hope it's been helpful to you to point in the right direction. If you do the things I outlined here, and most importantly, Do them consistently. I'm confident you will start seeing improvements. Remember, this isn't a magic pill. This isn't an overnight fix. For some people, it actually might happen pretty quickly, but you can't put that outcome or expectation on yourself because for most people, this is a recovery journey that will take months and even years. And you've got to be patient with yourself because remember, it's not point A, point B. It's more like the squiggly line, ups and downs. But notice the general trend and the direction it's going slowly. Months, months, a year, and so on. And then eventually, the symptoms start to decrease. There are days where you're like, ooh, I didn't feel anything that last hour. That was awesome. And that starts to grow and become more and more until all of a sudden symptom free. But it's a journey. You're rewiring your nervous system that you spent a lifetime burning out. It takes time, it takes patience, but it can be done and you can regain a life better than the one you ever had before. So I'm going to say this a final time. Because of the anonymous donor, finances are no longer a reason or a barrier to pursuing your healing and recovering journey. If you cannot afford it, you could still start on these resources right now. Simply send an email to healingyourmindandbody@gmail.com, and that anonymous donor will help at least cover Dr. Farias's program. Neil Duran's has 4 scholarships a month that he's giving out as well. Go to his Facebook group and do that. Ruth has a online platform coming soon. In the meantime, you can start reading her book. There's a ton of stuff you can start doing right now and watch the results that follow. But again, don't focus on the outcome. Just simply, like Neil says, make a decision that you can heal from this, that you're going to walk that journey regardless of how long it takes. Start doing the things, and especially before you consider something permanent, give these things a shot and see what impact it has. Because what you're doing is rewiring the nervous system. That's what burnout. And you're learning to quiet the alarms and the bells that are going off, and that's not going to happen overnight. So with all of that being said, I wish you the greatest success on your healing journey and know that this is possible. Remember the 3 habits. Look to God, trust Him, and connect with Him every day via prayer. Start the journey of meditation if you haven't done that already. Daily meditation and movement. And these other resources you incorporate into those 3 things, but those have got to be the foundation of your healing journey. So again, I wish you the greatest success and have a wonderful day.